TC, and that's exactly where we're gonna get to uncover that for ourselves here in just a second.
I'd still love to know why the opponent choose the Civ, or I'd still love to. Yes, the opponents still choose their civilizations. The whole tournament's that way. It doesn't change. Um, the reason why you're seeing a lot of the Byzantines in Order of the Dragon is that a lot of people think they're the
Ooh.
weakest. And yeah, but let's get right into the game here. And let's go. Oh, let's pause for a second as it, usually have to do a
Yeah,
few second
does this little
pause.
stutter.
Yeah. So here we go. Now we do see something interesting is Anotand is going straight for the dock, which is something we were just talking about, and he's doing the opposite of what we said.
Yeah, so I guess this is a point where Anatan's saying, "Hey, this is worth it for him." And I will say, against Order the Dragon, they're a civ that I've heard is kind of weak early, weak late, but in the middle they kind of have this smaller strength. Obviously, I think still these two civs would be considered the two weakest of the new variants, and that's kind of one where Anatan could just utilize this middle control for himself. And Order doesn't really take a lot of control, but they can, I guess, if they start getting a little bit of a unit mass.
Yeah, it's very yeah, and with Order of the Dragon, I think they do just have some weaknesses with how they're designed. For Byzantines, I think it's just their civ that I think is going to take a while to figure out. There's just so many things you can do as them that it's hard to say which is the right way, and then it also depends on the matchup and the map too. So it kind of goes down to multiple things, and I think it's just going to take time to figure them out, especially with the cisterns. Like, when's it best to get the second one, the third one, or go 2 TC and all that stuff.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those where it almost like we've seen Japan start to get uncovered a little bit, where I've seen Japan 1 TC become a lot more talked about compared to the 2, just with the TC upgrade and farms and things of that sort. So that's kind of one of those where the meta will start to uncover as there gets a lot more games under the belt.
Yeah, and I wonder how many fishing ships Anatan's going to make here. So he's going on 3 so far. Is he going to go much higher than that, or is he going to start not making any more after 4 or something? I'll be curious how many he invests.
Yeah, I kind of was going to mention, I feel like 4 is kind of the sweet spot here. I wouldn't even complain. I mean, just almost 1 for each shoreline fish, even though he does have the villager out there. But looks like he is pausing the queue, at least for the time being, and he is pulled off of wood. So 3 was the magic number for Anatan. Doesn't want to be too late to this feudal age.
And I think that's fine. Like, I think 4 might be, like you said, the sweet spot. I don't think you want to go any above 4, though. Just because, again, yeah, as we talked about, there's only 2,000 food, so you don't want to make so many fishing ships, and then, they're useless after the shoreline's fish is gone, right? You will you'll just delete them.
Yep, exactly. One of those that you'll see the idle villager thing pop up, and you're like, "What are those?" Oh, fishing boats. Let me just go ahead and get rid of those. Although the mid map is one of those that the dock will still give you some vision, so you won't be deleting that. And just in case you might want to make a military ship for the odd case of some fighting in the middle.
Yeah, I was just about to say, yeah, like one, like a galley might be useful, especially if your opponent rallies units across to the center to go attack you. That galley could get a lot of value as, a lot of players, when they rally units, don't think about that, and their units will walk right into the line of fire.
But the Hippodrome is the landmark choice from Anatan. You can see he's pulling 6 villagers on it, which he can afford to utilize a few more here because he has those extra fishing boats working for him. And on the other side, Numudan, the typical that we see for Order, just either 1 or 2, depending on what their overall game plan is next.
Yeah, I mean, typically when you go water, when you do go feudal age, you almost always do more than the typical 3 to 4. You usually go 6 or plus. And now Numudan has scouted out the water. And another thing to note is that these fishing ships, when you do gather fish, it does give you olive oil. So Anotand is getting that without having to gather berries first like you normally do.
Yeah, always nice having that little bit of a bank kind of saved up for you before that feudal age. And you know what? Having that extra olive oil can really help you snowball throughout the game.
Yeah, we do see a barracks and an archery range with spearmen already on the way before Anotand even hits feudal. And so I imagine that Numudan maybe is going to go pressure this middle, is what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the game plan, and those spears are ones that, if Anatans makes some horsemen, which you obviously expect from the Hippodrome, they cannot get close to those spears by any means, just because the extra damage plus 40 against cavalry.
And I'm curious if Anotand is going to make something from this this dock. Like, is he going to make a galley? He doesn't have the wood or the food yet, so he can't at the moment. But if he waits too long, this could go down before, he could even get one out.
Yeah, the horseman at least distracts the spear for a second, pulling the torch away. But the scout doing some extra damage there with it, as that torch very, very effective, even though the scout not too effective at killing units.
Yeah, we just see archery range coming out for Anotand, so he is planning to do this horseman. Oh, he is going to get a poke. That is really nice. May not seem like a big deal, but, you're taking off a good chunk of the health right there. Makes it easier to kill later on.
Especially where we're going to consistently see Anotand continue to probably pressure these reinforcing archers if they get out of position by any means. And now we're going to see that archer try to step up and start poking down these fishing boats.
Yeah, we see more archers and horsemen on the way. So far, we're not seeing anything from
though.
Oh, yeah, he does get another couple good strikes there. And takes, no damage in return, which is nice.
Yep. Still making sure his fishing boats are able to continue to gather. And now, this is where Numudan, he's starting to have his military a little bit out of position because Anotand has the counter unit starting to pump as well with archers himself.
And so far, we're not seeing a galley or anything. Oh, there we go. Oh, he's making a demo ship.
Oh. I mean, if it pops out without Numudan realizing there are 4 or 5 units right under it and could just explode and get an AoE effect on all of them.
Okay. I mean, it did do damage there. I feel like a galley is more worth it just because it stays alive and it just can constantly shoot these, but... because it doesn't even one-shot them. Now, the spearmen are very weak. But 3 spearmen, or gilded spearmen, are enough for these horsemen, I'm pretty sure.
Archers have a right triumph ability utilized. There is 2 spearmen left, but look at how much damage those spearmen do when they're able to connect with the cavalry units. You have to be so careful.
And it's one of those things where I think Anotand expected that fight to go a little bit better for him. And that's one of the things with Order of the Dragon that I think everyone's going to do for a while is it's very easy to think, oh, it's only 5 units, I can take this, but it's really more than 5 units. It's not quite double, but it's still more than stronger than you think.
Yeah, I remember playing against, as we see another engagement. The archers, though, this time, there are more archers here for Anotand. He's able to clear out the rest of those spears that are on the front line, and this trade is looking much better for himself.
Yeah, this is definitely looking better. He does take out another horseman, another gilded spearman on the way to try to protect those archers, but another one does go down. So, in general, that was obviously a much better engagement for Anotand. His dock is burning, but he's already got that lovely villager there to repair, and he's going to keep gathering that sweet, sweet fish.
Yep. As you were mentioning, though, people are going to constantly be underestimating those units. If you just dive into the engagements, you think you have the numbers, but it's so deceiving, even if you have the counter units. I was going to say, I remember playing against you and Puppy Paul a couple days ago, and he had 30 gilded archers circling around. I think I sent 15 camels expecting to just have it moved and get cleaned up fine, and all of a sudden I look back and there's still 20 gilded archers.
Yeah, and we do see that Anotand also did go for the Keshiks as the mercenaries. So he has a couple Keshiks out, which is going to be helpful. They heal when they attack. They're good against archers, and they can take a little bit more damage than horsemen against the gilded spearmen.
And look at where those Keshiks are currently, though. They're circling around. They're about to pressure some of that eco, and these villagers are so much more important for the order.
Yep, he's going to lose a villager. Looks like he'll save the rest. And here's the problem for Numudan at the moment. His food sources are not... He's out of sheep. He's only on berries. And if you look where the next food sources are those are not close to his base at all. Look how far that boar is. Look how far the deer are. Look how far the berries are. He has no close food source to go after these berries expire.
Yep. Now those two Keshiks has forced his whole entire army over to those berries, and it looks like those villagers, they're moving out to the deer in the middle, which is just such a scary location to move out to. Anatan taking advantage of this as well. Horsemen circling around to the bottom side.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really have a choice. He has to get food, and he doesn't want to just rely on his berries the whole time. A good reaction by Numudan, though, doesn't want to lose more villagers to these horsemen. And, you know, he did bring his whole army over there, so maybe he can catch these couple Keshiks. They're going to definitely see this now, you know. So Anatan's going to be like, oh, he's on the deer now. So this probably, and I was, yep, it's going to be a focal point. Immediately starts moving there with his entire army.
Yep. Exactly. That does lose a few of the horsemen trying to circle around, trying to get that raiding done. So a good little pickup by Numudan again. Couple of the spearmen in the correct position will just quickly clean up those horsemen. But look at the number of archers arriving here, and this is trouble for Numudan. He reacts, he sees it, but there's already a Keshik on the backside waiting.
And Anatan has +1 ranged attack now, which Numudan has no blacksmith at all, and Numudan just GG's. He knows it's over. Game number 1,
great
going over
job
to
by
Anatan.
Anatan.
Yeah, it was very well played. Definitely, probably not how Numudan was hoping that game would go, but and the stats kind of tell the tale. 1,000 more food because of those fishing ships.
Yep. We talked about the fishing that, you know, you really have to have the timing pay off. And sure enough, Anatan produced a good amount of units nonstop. If you go to the timeline, you can see how far ahead he ended up being. Yes, the numbers are a little deceitful as you can just basically double Numudan's line, but still outnumbered by quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly. This game shows how broken cataphracts really are.
Exactly. The gulpability, it was just so hard to you know, get over that healing.
Yeah, it was those darn cataphracts. All right, we'll be going into game number 2 here in just a moment.
The question is will we see an exact reversal of what we just saw before?
That is the question. We have seen that quite a bit, at least in the last couple of games. Looks like it is. It is a reversal. We'll just go straight into it. It's Anatan this time as Order of the Dragon, and Numudan as the Byzantines.
And this one is on Gorge, so a little bit of a different map. Might see a different play style here, but one of the things that we saw Anatan as a focal point for his pressure was the food on the Order of the Dragon. So we'll see if Numudan is going to have that same idea.
Yeah, I mean in this one, it's definitely not going to have as many. You know, there's no water, so there's not going to be an advantage there for Numudan. And you know the food sources are also spread out on this map too, so this may end up posing a problem for Anatan later on. And I see someone asking, why does nobody pick Sushi Legacy? The reason why is because they are one of the strongest civs in the game right now, at least in my opinion. And I think a lot of other players agree. And since the players are picking their opponent's civilizations, no one's going to give them a good civ, because that's their goal is to give their opponent the weakest civ possible, not the strongest.
Yep. Yeah, weakest or one that your opponent is least familiar with, as I'm sure everyone out there knows that if you haven't played a civ before and all of a sudden you get thrown onto it, your macro is awful, horrendous, straight down the drain.
Yep, exactly. Do I say Byzantines are weak? Right now they feel that way, but I think it's just because they need to be figured out. And yes, Order of the Dragon lost that last match.
I think Byzantine is more of the unfamiliar with the macro, not knowing exactly the timings, what to do, even the exact unit compositions that you're going to want to be looking for. But that's where something such as Sushi Legacy, that's one where they have a little bit more defined unit composition. They're a little bit similar to China, but obviously not the same. They have a lot of differences, but those differences are so strong. They have a crazy quick castle age timing. They have those feudal chukes that you can just mass up so quickly. So they have a lot of different builds that you can do. And one of the most important is their farm transition later on that you can end up getting.
Yeah, and I see someone saying I think Byzantines are just bad. Again, people say that about a lot of civs. I remember when Rus was called bad, and then someone figured out a strategy with them, and then they turned out to be overpowered for about a year or however long it was. And then I think Byzantines is the same way. I'm not saying they're going to be overpowered, and maybe they are bad, but I think it is way too soon. They're just a very complex civ. Now, right now they seem bad, but nobody really knows what the best way to play them is either. And I think you
Yeah,
just
exactly.
just gotta be patient. That's not how it happened.
Yeah.
What happened? No, Valence. I remember last year, Rus wasn't played for 4 months before the Kremlin change. Nobody played Rus
Are
for
you talking
four
about the
months.
Guz boar build?
No, this is after that. And then
Uh,
Rus became overpowered when people realized quick 2TC using the Golden Gate and all that stuff was actually overpowered because of how flexible
yeah,
Rus
there's
was. I remember because I was a Rus player. I used to think they were bad, and for 4 months everyone thought they were bad. Then they became overpowered. Then the second TCs got nerfed, and then people thought Rus was bad again. And then Kremlin got buffed, and then they became overpowered again.
yep,
Rus has gone
pretty
through.
much.
Yeah, Rus has gone through 3 periods where they were overpowered. Horse archers, uh, kind of the Aigas build / going the Golden Gate 2TC, and then the Kremlin.
Yeah, the Igus build was a fun little time there. It was it was so enjoyable casting those games where you just go see. Well, first off, if it was a Roost mirror, you'd see 8 villagers meet at the middle board. But if not, you just see 4 archery ranges just getting dropped, and you're like, all right, this is about to be a fun all in.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing I forgot to say, yeah, and then when Roos got nerfed, their sheep, they lost bounty. That's another reason why people thought Roos was bad again, too, when Roos lost the bounty from sheep. And again, that turned out not to be the case. Hey, what's up, Core? Didn't miss you there. I just had to, I had to correct a wrong statement. Because that's what I do.
But enough of that. We are finally into this next game. We'll do our little pause here in just a little bit, and then we'll just check in on these spawns.
Yeah, and here we go. So a little flip of the last match. Numudan as the Byzantines. And this time Anotand as the Order of the Dragon. Now, I do think this map is better for Order of the Dragon than Himyama. Like, yes, there's still spread out resources, but these deer are still much closer to the town center than I would say last game for Numudan. And even the front, and then you got berries and all that stuff. And there's no water,
Yeah, and
so
even so, I think
you can go ahead.
no water is definitely key. I think we saw Anatan when we play order yesterday, and I want to say he did like a little bit of an earlier farm transition, not full sets of farms, but dropping 1 or 2 in here and there, and it allows you to not deplete your earlier food resources as fast and still kind of keep up if you go with the chapel. But we all know that mine work has been preferred. I think Anatan was a chapel user though as well.
Yeah, let me swap the score here real quick so it's correct because Anotand is up 1-0 right now. And let's see if Numudan can do what Anotand did. Can he beat Anotand's Order of the Dragon? Because I want to say Anotand won with Order of the Dragon yesterday on stream when we casted one of his games. I think versus Zerton, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah, I believe he did, and I believe he did end up going chapel.
Yeah, and it was on this map too, I think, wasn't it? Because yeah, Zerton was Byzantines, Anatan was Order, and it was on this specific map too. So and the same spawns, same matchup, same map. Is this a sign that Anatan's gonna win this game?
I mean, it could just be a nice little sheep drop off too. Just dropped off like 7 or 8 sheep under his town center, which is always a lovely sight to see when you're playing any civ that needs some extra food, some nice safety under your town center.
Oh, but look at Numudan. He's about to find another. Oh no, Numudan, no! You're gonna miss.
Oh, he missed the corner. Oh. That's so sad to see. It's such just an extra big pickup. I mean, that's a solid 750 food. It's just, could go over to your opponent too.
Yeah, and there's So yeah, there's 3 sheep right here. I wonder if anyone will find them. Sometimes players, and we've all done it, where you just don't scout the corners and you're going to miss sheep because of it. But still, he still found 8 sheep, so they both have found a solid group of sheep instead of, one player getting a little less sheep and starving himself later on in the game.
Yeah, and we do see the chapel with 2. As I was kind of talking about, I think Anotand is more of a chapel enjoyer. Lovely location for it. Gets his gold, berries, and that wood line. Obviously getting all of his sheep as well. So really, really good spot for that. And the hippodrome did have 4 on it, but Numudan actually pulled 2 off, and now it's only aging up with 2 villagers. So he is in no hurry.
Yeah, definitely a little unorthodox, I would say. Normally it feels like you go at least 3, so a slower age up, but maybe Numenon's not really planning a super hyper aggressive build, or just doesn't feel the need to rush it.
And look at Anatan already dropping that barracks, already planning on getting some production out. Scouted out that hippodrome, so knows that he is going to need some of those gilded spears.
Yeah, kind of like what Numenor did last game. It gets the barracks before they even age up. Now, Numenor started the spears pretty early. We'll see if Anatan starts his, or if he's going to wait a little bit.
And I believe Anatan even is going to be a horseman enjoyer, going to end up dropping the stables first instead of the archery range. But I could be wrong. That's just the way the mind thinks, just watching Anatan and knowing his playstyle. Likes to kind of utilize that mobility a little bit more.
Yeah, and I will say, Order of the Dragon Horsemen are in ways, they're kind of better than normal horsemen, right? I mean, obviously, again, we know they're extra stats, they cost more, but when they attack a villager, you can feel the difference in that damage, which makes it feel kind of nice compared to a normal horseman raid. So maybe that is the way to go.
That hippodrome immediately queuing up the horsemen on his side. Anatan getting a few upgrades, sending a few villagers over to stone, so might just be an outpost with a arrow slits upgrade on it.
Wait, where's the outpost? Oh, yeah, you're right.
I don't see it yet, but he's just going over for some stone, so I'm just assuming.
Yeah,
unless he just didn't have the...
My guess, I
don't
think
know.
you're right. Probably going to put it on the gold. I wonder if Anatan's going to go for more of a fast castle build. Because again, he doesn't have that water that Numenor... Because I think Numenor felt pressure to do damage because of the water. Whereas this game, that's not the case. So maybe Anatan's just going to, make a tower, go fast castle. But we do see archers coming out for Numenor. We also see horsemen. So he is going to be able to put on some pressure on the gold and the berries shortly.
And Anatan went spear first, then men at arms, so he'll have a nice tanky unit on his side of the field. That being said, I would love to see a front outpost with some upgrades, because not only would it protect the gold, it's gonna. So I was gonna say it's gonna protect the berries, but it will help protect that wood line that wants to be inspired consistently.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's why he did it there. Of course, if Numenor goes to the other side, he can still pressure him off of wood. Oh, but we see a stable as well. So maybe Anotand isn't going to try to go for a fast castle build.
Yep. And there's that stable. Yeah, like you said, as expected, that stables was going to be coming in. He loves that mobility. He is focusing on trying to get this outpost finished, and the men-at-arms will help deter away those last few units.
Yeah, and we see 3 archers, horsemen. Do we see a second horseman yet? I only see the one, so he's only invested in 1 horseman at this time. Arrow slits is coming down to that tower. Should be done here in about 15 seconds.
And I think Anatan's been constantly scouting this. His scout's been in the mid-map, looking at what units are crossing the map, so he knows if he needs to invest into more spears, which he hasn't done, because he hasn't seen any more horsemen yet.
Yeah, and here's the thing, though. Like, this horseman, the Order of the Dragon Horseman, like, this unit composition honestly counters this. All he has to do is dive with the horseman and the spear, and I think he just kills this small army of Numenor.
Yeah, I completely agree, but looks like he is just going to try to make sure there's no reinforcing units coming across. And Numudan looks to know once that horseman popped out, then he needs to back on away.
Oh man, that
One archer though does get picked off.
30 damage per shot. It does so much damage.
Yeah, absolutely just crushed that archer.
And we do see a blacksmith coming in for both players, though we do see Numenor slightly ahead with the +1 ranged attack on the way. And Anotand just retreats with his Gilded Horseman. He's like, okay, I got an archer, time to retreat. And he is starting to invest
And
in
what's he
farms
doing
too.
behind this? Dropping a few. Exactly. Dropping a few farms. This allows him to not have to deplete those berries as fast. You might not think like it's much, but 3 extra villagers over on those berries, you're going to eat those so much faster.
Yeah, and now we have the Mercenary House coming out for Numudan. Now, I wonder if he's going to go for Keshiks or if he's going to go for longbows. I feel like typically, you know, I think a lot of time you see longbows, but, you know, there's also quite a few players I notice who definitely prefer the Keshiks. So I'll be very curious which contract he picks.
He's got the olive oil to choose it. Just still waiting for that timing, and it's starting to expand that cistern out to the west side, getting the deer in range of that, and the stone if he wants that as well.
Yeah, we're going to pause for just a few seconds here. I keep seeing stutters, so we're just going to do it for, you know, 5-10 seconds. And that should hopefully fix the issue. Of course, I like how it always fast forwards afterwards. It doesn't actually just play from there. It's like, no, catch up. Okay.
Yeah, that was what was happening with me yesterday whenever I was trying to pause to get even time with you, and I was like, all right, we're on the same time play, and it was like 10 seconds later.
All right, and we do see it is the longbow contract. And so we're going to see longbows here shortly.
And an additional range being dropped as well. He had the barracks too, and it's gonna, I guess, be a ton of archers with the longbows, which I feel like somewhat of a bait from what we've seen from Anotand. Those horsemen do a significant amount, not to mention men-at-arms starting to be produced a little bit more.
Yeah, and we are, you know, seeing 6 farms, more men-at-arms. It looks like Anotand definitely wants to do some feudal pressure here, or at least maybe he's worried about feudal aggression.
Yep, and I mean, it makes sense. Anotand's still putting on that pressure with a few of those horsemen circling, and I feel like it's with the order. You can't just send a few spears to deal with those 3 gilded horsemen. You have to send a significant amount because of how strong those units actually are.
Yeah, and look at this. Numudan's actually trying to get to Castle Age now. He's very close food-wise, not quite there gold-wise. And so, and Anotand, he's a lot further behind. I mean, he still needs 1,200 food, whereas Numudan just needs 225 gold, 35 gold.
Yep. Anotand, though, he's still just circling, putting some pressure on with these horsemen. And behind this, though, he's having more and more of a farm transition, less pressure that's going to be put on his side. And one thing we'll look at Numudan is he's going to have to start moving out for the food. We already saw him go for the back deer, which are nice and safe. But after that, it's the berries on the east and west.
Yeah, and we see a couple stables being made already, so we can already anticipate the lovely cataphracts, which we haven't seen too many in this tournament. Normally, Byzantines either wins in the feudal age, dies in the feudal age, or yeah, I mean, those have been the most common, so we should be seeing some cataphracts this game.
Yep, and there's the Golden Horn Tower being dropped, starting to be built. 16 villagers wants to get this nice and quick, and this is that one that produces mercenary units for free.
Yeah, you know, judging that he's going this, you know, pretty, you know, Castle Age and was making another stable, I thought for sure he was going to go the other landmark for those lovely, lovely gulps, because who doesn't love gulping and getting healed?
It's crazy seeing those cataphracts use the gulp ability and them just to continue to tank up fire, and you're like, I swear they're gonna die. I swear they're gonna die, and then they just don't end up ever falling.
Yeah, and here's Anotand, and he's starting to wall up here. You know, he's going to protect his deer, he's going to protect his boar, both deer packs really, and a berry pack. But he's going to have access to a lot of food for a long time, which is going to be very nice.
And I love what he's done with the villagers. He has a tower next to the villagers with 5 deer. He's only got 4 villagers on the other deer pack. He's just not really over investing into the expansive locations. And another little bit of pressure put in, some gilded horsemen take out a unit and fall back away without taking too much damage.
Yeah, and upon seeing that age up, Anotand's moving across with his whole army now. He wants to try to put some pressure on, do some damage before, you know, those Castle Age techs really kick in. 2 cataphracts are about to be on the field, and I think that would be enough. And yep, and Anatan realizes he probably should retreat, so I take back my statement. He decides to go back, and now he's going to go attack again. Who knows what he wants to do? I don't think he knows.
Well, he does split off a horseman, hits the gold vein, and just constantly making Numudan be on that back foot.
And this is the right play. You want to try to keep your opponent back distracted while you try to catch up on age, because one of the worst things that can happen is if you're stuck in feudal age and your opponent's hitting you with castle age units, it can kind of be, you know, that can kind of ends games a lot. So this kind of allows him to buy time, and now he's going to get that castle age as well, advancing with 10 villagers, and will be aged up shortly, and shouldn't be open to any sort of weakness or weak timing attack.
Yep, ages up with the majority of his woodvilles and keeps on the food, keeps on the gold. So this allows him to keep on the production, keep on producing units, and not fall behind.
Yeah, we do see Numudan kind of doing what Anatan's doing, walling off a section of his food. Unlike Anatan, though, he doesn't have all his food in one nice area. He has a boar here by itself with berries, and then his last deer pack is all the way to the other side of the map.
Yeah, these next couple minutes are going to be all about relic control. Anatan, he's going up with Regnants, just finished it. Numudan's already secured the first relic, and he's starting to move out to the middle relic, which is exactly where Anatan has his army. But Anatan cannot take this fight until the veteran upgrades come through.
Yeah, he definitely wants to wait for that, and I wonder if he's going to add in any... no Gilded Knights yet, which, by the way, if you made a Gilded Knight, there's only 1 Spearman and 5 crossbows with this army. So this army is not very well equipped to deal with a Gilded Knight, or, I mean, maybe 5 crossbows is enough, I'm not sure. But doesn't have enough anti-cavalry with this little army, let's just say that.
Oh. And look at what Anatan does. He has full vision of this.
Yeah, he's cutting off reinforcements.
He's got full vision, cuts off the units from behind. We saw this the other day. And now what's he going to do? Collapse his army into the other army and just cut it off at the throat and not allow the army to have the full units all together.
And he did kill...
and there we see it. Cataphracts dive on in.
And he did kill the monk, by the way, so that relic did not make it home. And this fight should go very well for Anotand. I mean, like I said, there's not enough anti-cavalry, though here comes reinforcements for Numudan. Going to try to take out these horsemen. And these horsemen are getting very, very weak. But the crossbows are dead. Archer's going down. Very, very nice engagement for Anotand here.
Anotand just cleaned this up. That's just one of those. Numudan fought with half of his army 2 different times, and Anotand knew that. She's just so good about cutting off the reinforcements, not allowing them to collapse together, and the men-at-arms, the horsemen, cleaned up the fight.
Yeah, Numudan's trying to get back, retreating as fast as he can. Looks like, you know, Anotand's probably going to have to retreat, at least with his infantry, because, again, town center fire, and there's still a decent army by Numudan, so doesn't want to, you know, risk throwing a bad engagement. And we see more men-at-arms.
But Anotand, yet again, splits off some horsemen down to the bot side berries. A vital food source for Numudan. Numudan not yet reacting, a little bit slow, losing one of the vills and having himself idled for a bit. But behind this, he's sneaking over a relic from Anotand's side.
Yeah, and he got 3 villager kills, so that feels really nice. And yep, as you said, the first prelate coming to take that relic. And is there another prelate is being made as well? I mean, Anotand right now with his map control, you know, he's got 1 relic. He's about to grab a second. So he should be able to secure, I think, 3 relics here.
I mean, if you're Order of the Dragon and you are up in villagers, you are feeling good. Not even to mention that, we can see the military numbers. The graph at the top is obviously accounting for the double population of Order, but the military numbers are pretty close to even, which, again, if you're Order, you're always feeling good. Yeah,
exactly. This kind of feels... right now, this definitely feels like Anotand's in a very, very good position. He may not know how good of a position he's in, but he's in a very, like, strong position to kind of take this game. If he can take 1 more good fight, I think he just can end up overrunning Numudan here.
And look at this. He's getting the Inspired Warriors tech. So after these prelates are snagging in those relics, they're coming to the front line. They are joining the fight.
And I like this. It does increase the, the armor by 1 and damage, and increases the damage by 15%. And these are already buffed up units compared to normal, so they're even scarier when you take them in a fight.
Yeah, even though there's 9 crossbows, they're still going to be barely tickling some of those units. The horsemen going to be very, very tanky, and Anotand has a really good composition to fight Numudan's side again. The men-at-arms, I feel like, just don't have a good answer at all. 9 crossbows are not enough.
Yeah, and I like how Anotand is utilizing his map control. He's just taking the sacred sites, because again, that extra gold is nice. We do see a monk coming out for Numudan, but I don't think this will do anything, especially because, Anotand's army will easily kill that poor monk.
Numudan's whole army going to deal with 2 horsemen yet again. I feel like that's just been the whole game. It's been Numudan trying to answer 1 or 2 horsemen raids, and this is has a Anotand to take the map control, kind of just do what he wants and not be
Dabs, there, you're cutting out a little bit.
We see the
Not sure if it's
prelate monk end off at the no units coming, but arrive.
You are yeah, you're cutting out a little bit there. I don't know if it's me or are you though. Can you hear me, Dabs? I don't think Dr. Dobson can hear me.
You're cutting in and out heavily.
Maybe cutting out hard. Yep. You guys aren't hearing me cut out though, right? Excellent. Twitch chat is on my side. Maybe
can you hear me now?
Yeah, let's switch to my server real quick. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Gotta love it.
Is this better?
Yep, sounds good now.
All right. Well, that's weird. Glad it's better.
Yep, looks like it'll be fine now. Okay, so we do see still 2 horsemen raiding, and you can see the glow with that inspired warrior bonus. And let's see what what is Numudan gonna try to do? I mean, look at that military, 107 to 71.
Yeah, and this is kind of how I felt Order should be. Yesterday we saw, I forgot who it was playing. I think it was Louis or Zerton had 100 and something villagers, and I was like, it needs to be less. You have those stronger villagers. You don't have enough military out on the field if you don't have 100+ population in your military.
Oh no, that was Louis. My bad. I thought you were talking about the game where Zerton had like a huge military lead and then kind of died.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he just waited and waited and waited. But this is where Anotand, he is not wanting to make that same mistake. He is moving forward with the prelates.
And he's raiding on the backside, and look at all those glowy units. They all have the bonus from those prelates, and they are going to, and the buff lasts like a minute, I think, right? I think it's.
I actually have no idea.
It lasts for a while.
They're all gonna have that buff, and the horsemen, they're diving in. Yeah, they might be on that front side. The spear's not yet there because they were dealing with backside raids. Archers trying to be microed correctly, but Anotand, he's just got too much here. He's got the inspired warrior text, and none of his units seem like they're falling.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of men-at-arms, and the thing is, though, Anotand is missing his +2 range defense. Might have been a good idea to wait for that, but there's a lot of longbows. That is like, there was like 25, 30 longbows there, but it doesn't matter. There's 9 men-at-arms. There's still horsemen left, 7 horsemen, a bunch of gilded archers. Numudan's army's falling fast. He's at below 30 to the 90. And his army just is not really, Anotand's is dropping slowly and actually going up, whereas Numudan's is falling more and more.
And Numudan falls with his army. Game number 2 goes over to Anotand in a very quick and quite solid series. As I think you were talking about it yesterday, he is one of those players that looks very, very in form right now.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the food. He has 7,000 more food. not too much more gold, but the gold wasn't really the big deal there. It was definitely he was pretty far ahead economically, it seemed, and that game just ended up yeah. So Anatan makes it to the final.